Yeah. So how was work on a Monday today?
Mondays are the worst days
Yeah.
because they've had the weekend to build up.
Yeah.
And when it gets warmer, people have more problems.
Yeah.
Judge Hurt used to call it tank top weather.
Tank top weather.
They said first weekend I'm wearing tank tops.
Okay.
We have more domestic issues.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Mhm.
Is that what you? So what kind of issues do you typically? What's your typical issues that your office is encountering?
It runs the gamut. I have at least once a week somebody comes in about a car title that, hey, I sold them this car, but they never transferred it. And I'm like, that's why you're supposed to go to the clerk's office
Yeah.
and do it right then. Because if you let someone get in the car and drive off, they have no motivation to then go get it registered.
Sure. Sure. So I guess before we get too into it, Wes Stevens, incumbent Monroe County attorney,
Yes.
and uh, let's see, you started originally in 2002,
Yes.
and then so that was till 2006, and then Pop
Mhm.
won the 2006, but then he passed away 2008,
Yes.
and then you took over, and you've been in the office ever since. So, like, was there much of what goes into like a transition of an office like that? So, because if he passed away, I'm sure like he had cases that he was working on. Did they then just become yours, or
The cases are the easy part because the court system has the cases.
okay?
The hard part is I think I have 7 bank accounts just for the county attorney
Really?
because I have a cold check collection account, a cold check fee account, a real estate tax collection account.
Yeah.
Uh, then I have an escrow account, and the traffic deferral program has its own separate checking account.
Yeah.
And those we get audited, um, but just the transition of those sometimes takes a while.
Yeah, for sure. That's way over my head. So and it may be common sense, but I don't know. This is why, I kind of want to learn. So like, what is like a cold check account? Is that just like your checks that you just get
We
paid?
used to collect a lot of cold checks.
Mhm.
The merchants, if somebody wrote a check and the bank returned it, but now, your generation and younger, they don't know what a check is. Everybody has a debit card.
Yeah.
Lots of retailers now only take debit cards, credit cards, or cash because you don't take the risk that that check is going to come back. And I'd say we used to 25 or 30 checks a month we
Mhm.
would collect, and now we might collect 25 or 30 checks a year.
Really?
Yeah, because issuing a cold check is a criminal offense, but we give them 10, 20 days. If they'll come into our office and take care of it, then we don't file the criminal complaint.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. And then like the escrow, can you go into that a little bit, like what
It's
that
funds
is?
that we hold for others. Like
Okay.
uh, after April the 15th, you can no longer pay your county property taxes in the sheriff's office. You have to go to the county clerk's office. After August 31st this year, you can't pay them in the county clerk's office without an additional penalty. There's a penalty after April 15th, and then September, I think it is the 17th this year, they have a tax sale where they sell the tax bills. And all that does is give someone a lien on your property for not paying your
Okay.
taxes. They can also enter into a contract with my office to make payments on them. That's why we have to have a separate account until they build up enough to pay it off, and then we go pay it off for them. But if they enter the contract in my office, then they can't sell the tax bill to a third party. And about 10, 12 years ago, the legislature passed a bill that changed and allowed people to buy more tax bills, and they charge 12% interest, which is more than you can get in the bank. And you have a preferred lien. You take the same lien position as the government that holds that tax bill, which is before a mortgage or any other lien. So they're guaranteed their money. So that has really helped with the tax collection because they would buy a $300 tax bill, and 3 months later it costs the taxpayer $1,500. So they've learned, people that were delinquent, hey, we better go pay this or it's really going to cost us.
Sure. Sure. So it sounds like between that and the decreased frequency of cold checks, things have changed quite a bit. So What is your combined years in office? It's over 20, ain't it?
It's over 20. I was assistant Commonwealth attorney from 2000 to 2002, and then county attorney from 02 to 06. And then 07 and 08, I was back as assistant Commonwealth attorney. So I've been a prosecutor since July 1st of 2000, uninterrupted.
How much has the office changed since 2002?
A lot.
A lot.
Marijuana used to be a big crime. People would go to jail for possession of marijuana. Now it's merely a fine.
Mm-hmm.
We have less traffic tickets now than we used to have. We very rarely have Fish and Wildlife issue any tickets in Monroe County anymore. Yeah. We don't have cold checks anymore. That used to be 4 or 5 people a week on our docket were for cold checks. And because of the transition to debit cards and other forms of payment, that's reduced those cases.
Fair enough. Does the landscape, is it just completely different from, or is there any similarities still?
Oh, there's lots of similarities. I say the biggest change is my growth in office. When I came in, I was younger, thought I could change the world, thought everything was black and white.
Oh, yeah.
And then your grandfather taught me you have to prosecute the individual, not the crime. Some people need a kick in the butt. Some just need a hug.
Yeah. So what is that? That sounds almost prosecute the individual, but not the crime. That almost sounds backwards to me. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
And like I said, some kids are just dumb, do something stupid.
Yeah.
One time. You don't want that hanging over their head for the rest of their life, where it'll follow them around on a job interview or something when they do a background check. And some kids need the kick in the butt or a weekend in jail to learn the lesson that you don't get to do what you want to do all the time.
Yeah. Do you ever run into people that feel like a county attorney is just out to get them?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
the county attorney is the worst political position in Kentucky, because if you do your job right, you're going to make people angry.
Yeah.
There's, the PVA and I discussed it. Nobody comes into his office happy that he changed their tax rate. And nobody comes into my office because they're having a good day. Either somebody's got a ticket, they got a loved one in jail, they're a victim of domestic violence.
Yeah.
They don't come to me because they're having a good day.
Yeah. I was going to ask a question about being burned out, and we can talk about that later. I don't think you're burned out. I think you're probably very good at your job and very motivated to do it. But as a therapist, I've been doing that for 2.5 years now. I hear so much stuff.
Yes.
And it's not hard to maintain the empathy, but I have to dial the empathy back a little bit, because if I don't, I run into that empathy burnout, and I just run into empathy burnout. So for your job, with all the things that you run into, how do you find that balance of, this is a real person, but I've also seen this 50, 60 times?
And that goes back to experience and being able to tell when it's somebody who's just having a bad day, who did something they wouldn't normally do that's out of character, or it's somebody that you can tell has a chip on their shoulder or a bad attitude or think the law doesn't apply to them. The empathy, I know I've been in over 30 homes. It's probably closer to 50 homes doing interventions with the family for victims, people who are drug addicts. To help them convince that person to go to rehab.
Yeah.
That's not part of my job, but once I did it a couple of times, people found out. And that is the same way. Some of those you go in, hug them, cry with them, talk about what they need to do. And some of them you go in and grab them by the shirt collar.
Yeah.
And say, look, you're messing up. You've got a great chance here and you've made some choices, but you can overcome them. And I truly believe people can overcome drug addiction. I've witnessed it many times. The best days of my life are drug court graduation, because it's not every graduation, but almost every graduation, someone will say, I hated Wes Stevens.
Yes.
And but then they look at me and thank me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, because where I'm at right now, we do I participate, like facilitate groups occasionally, and the drug court in and of itself is just so intense.
Mhm.
But do you feel like that it's the way it is because it needs to be?
It needs to be very hard because methamphetamine is what we deal with mostly. And it takes a full 6 months of sober living before the cloud starts to lift from their brain. It takes a year before it really functions the way it did before. And if you don't hold them accountable, I tell people an addict is a con man. The
Mhm.
first person they con is themselves. They convince themselves that they are not an addict. And once they can con themselves, they try to con everybody else. So when they're in drug court, the first 6 months, they're just playing a con game. Fake it till you make it, is what they say.
Yes.
And until they buy in and do it for themselves, you're not going to help them.
Yeah. Because when I first heard like what all goes into it, like I think they have to call in at like 4 in the
4 in the
morning
morning
and stuff like
for
that.
random drug tests. But as you progress through the program, it gets easier because you've demonstrated that you're thinking like an adult, a
Yeah.
mature person.
Yeah. So how do you prioritize? Like, do you prioritize cases, or is it just like on a first come first serve basis? Somebody walks in and presents you with something going on, and then an hour later somebody else comes in and it's got something similar going on. How do you prioritize?
Frankfurt, and I used the state government about 8 or 10 years ago, encouraged us not to take any citizen complaints anymore because the Office of County Attorney has zero investigative authority. So now everyone goes through a police agency to where the officer can talk to both sides, get names, dates of birth, phone numbers, things that we would need if we prosecuted the crime. And a lot of times, by the time that process plays out, a couple of days, cooler heads are involved in those situations where it's interpersonal problems with
Sure.
people.
Are you working with law enforcement daily?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every officer has my cell phone number.
How closely do you all work together?
They called me Friday night, say, look, here's the situation. Can we do this? Or do we need to come to your office and get a search warrant? And we walked through the scenarios because part of my job as county attorney is to protect the county from liability.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I've talked to all the officers, and we work together not to hinder them from doing their job, but to make sure that it's done according to the law.
Do you ever have to tell them no?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
What?
just, you can't do that, or
Yeah.
you need to go do more investigation. And they're like, well, I was afraid you was going to say that, but
So they seem to be pretty understanding about like that trust, that community trust, or at least from the office of from the police side of things. If you're giving them that no, they understand that you're.
I'm doing it to protect them and the county.
Sure.
I'm not doing it to hinder their investigation.
And what does it mean to protect the county from liability?
We've all seen the bad arrests on television, or if they enter someplace where they should have had a search warrant without a search warrant, they could be liable for any damages they've caused.
Mm-hmm.
A month and a half ago, officers called me. They said, we know this truck is in this garage. We know they're in the house, but they won't come to the door.
Mm-hmm.
I said, give me just a few minutes. And I called the homeowner. Said, look, they know you're in there. They have all the rights to come get a search warrant. If they get a search warrant, they're going to bust your door down.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the right to do that. I said, they know it's in there. Let's just work this out. Well, let me talk to told me which officer they would speak to. And I just left my house then, drove to the location. Me and that officer walked in with them.
Mm-hmm.
There was no problems with anybody.
Yeah. So you're not, I know you're not, but for the people, again, people think county attorney's out to get them sometimes, but you're not.
No, 90% of the county has zero dealings with the county attorney's office. When Kevin Cloyd was principal of the middle school, I asked him how my daughter was doing, and he was like, I don't know. He said, I don't get to deal with the 90% of the students who do what they're supposed to.
Mhm.
We just have to deal with the 10% that are having issues.
Yeah. What are some like cases or situations that show up at your office that people might not think about?
The duties of the county attorney as the legal advisor for the county takes way more time than the prosecutorial duties do.
Yeah.
Uh, all the contracts the county enters into, or the water district, or the library board. The library board had a case, and I won't give many details, where they needed some help with an employee. And I met with the board and that employee, and we worked out, we resolved the issue to where that it doesn't follow that employee on. Yeah. And the various boards, fiscal court, the county clerk, the sheriff's office, when the PVA has an issue, they
Mhm.
call me, PVA's not often, but they want to know, hey, I talked to Sean a couple of weeks ago. We've got this one person that we can't get something resolved. Can you help us with it? I'm like, yeah, you have the right to do this and that. He said, that'll take care of it.
So are there any like specific initiatives or changes that you brought into the office?
The traffic safety program, or as everybody refers to it, can I put this ticket on the shelf?
Yeah.
Uh, we'd never had one here. And everybody said, well, this county does this or this county does that. And I worked with our local judge and we had just a small one going. And then the state said, you all can't do this anymore. And working with the state legislature, the County Attorneys Association got them to pass a bill that more formalized the procedure. And the circuit clerk got a cut of the money, which went to the state, and
Yeah.
then the sheriff's office got a cut of the money. That's what it was, a funding issue that the shelf took
Yeah.
away from the state. But I went and visited Frankfurt 3 times and talked to various legislatures and told them how it would help us. And then it also helps the individual because those tickets, if they go through the traffic safety program and successfully complete it, doesn't go on their record.
Sure.
Most of our tickets are from men under the age of 23,
Mhm.
just because that's what young guys do.
Yeah.
But that goes on their parents' insurance. It
Mhm.
will triple their insurance rates. And if we can keep a ticket off, still make them pay a penalty, they usually learn a lesson.
Yeah. I remember the old Doug Carter special. You had to make a phone call and he could make it disappear, but you don't have to do that anymore, right?
No,
Just maintain like a just be a decent person. Do what's expected of you.
and it's just like if you get pulled over by the cops. If you come in with a good attitude and just say, hey, is there any way you can help us out here?
Mhm.
We bend over backwards.
Yeah.
And I say my staff is wonderful. They deal with 80% of the people that come into the office, where I never even have to talk to them because they know the procedures and what's expected of
Mhm.
everyone.
How much are you reliant on your staff? How do you delegate to your staff?
They each have specific job duties. I have 2 employees that only do child support.
Okay.
And then I have one employee who is my prosecutorial secretary. She
Mhm.
helps me get the court cases ready. When I need discovery, she contacts the state police, gets body cam footage of the city police, gets a copy of their report so that we can give it to the defense attorney.
Yeah. So body cams, when were they introduced? Have we always had them?
No, no. And the KSP, they all have body cams and dash cams now.
Mhm.
Most of the city does, and a few of the county, the sheriff's department,
Yeah.
have body cam.
Has it made a difference, do you feel like? Or like, I mean, maybe in outcomes, or have you seen even cases like overturned or anything like that
The
because of body
cases I
cams?
prosecute, DUIs, body cam, if
Mhm.
the jury can see them performing the field sobriety tests,
Sure.
because the officer gets up there and testifies scientifically because that's the way they've been trained to do. And nobody knows what a horizontal gaze nystagmus is or what the clues are to look for. And it doesn't make sense when they explain it.
Mhm.
But if you see the person perform those tests, then I think it helps.
Yeah.
And then we had a case 3 weeks ago where a guy they accused he had been banned from a property, and they went and swore out a warrant, said he had been back on the property, came back, said, they showed me where the police had banned him. The police were gung ho about getting him. And he came up with a video, and it was not him at the property. He was at work
Yeah.
and had his time clock to prove it. But the video showed that the person they thought was him was not him.
Sure. Yeah. And Lucas, I think, talked about when I was talking to him, like that he wished everybody had like a Ring camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine that would be a benefit.
Especially in a theft case, because if you can narrow down the time to when something happened, then you can go to the neighbor's house and see which vehicles, because most of the thefts don't occur in highly populated areas.
Mm-hmm.
So the traffic flow is minimum. So then you can get a good read for who to go talk to.
Yeah. What are some of the toughest cases to prosecute?
Anything involving the child.
Okay.
It's just because we had one Friday.
Mm-hmm.
The officer he almost cried in my office because a 10-year-old special needs child was playing with a syringe and had a baggie of meth with the syringe. She had found it from somebody that was staying at her house and took it to school.
Yeah.
And those cases, because we do juvenile court and it's closed court.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the heartbreaking stories.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I notice as like just in my time practicing, which, that yours was, a example related to drugs, but it seemed like so many individuals with substance use disorders were, sexually assaulted as a child. Do you see that pattern as well?
They have endured some type of trauma. It's not always sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's physical abuse, verbal abuse. A lot of it is socioeconomic, where their family has struggled for years. And the first time they take meth, they're like, oh, I feel good. And they want to recreate feeling good about themselves. And they learn quickly that you can't do it through drugs. But that I've seen that as more of a gateway than anything else, is just trying to overcome a difficult background.
Yeah, that was something that changed my mind of the way I viewed people that have substance use disorders, was the fact that most of them have had something happen. I encounter a lot that, it was sexual abuse as a child, but it makes you empathize with them.
We don't know about the sexual abuse that has led to it because the victim is always embarrassed because they blame themselves. But that is one of the factors that leads to an addictive personality, is coping mechanism.
So the tendency to like blame themselves, I know, could lead into remaining silent or not speaking up when they need to. Is that something that you've encountered? Or
yeah, and because most of the time the abuse is by an authority figure or a parental figure or someone in the family, and they still have a love for that person and they don't want to get them in trouble. And then usually the perpetrator has intimidated them into short-term silence and sometimes long-term silence.
So this will be how many terms for you?
I was elected in 2002.
Yeah.
And then 10, 14, 18, 22.
Yeah.
And this would be the 6th term I would have been elected to.
What's the drive to continue in the office versus this is my jumping off point?
The joy of helping people. Part of my job is the chief truant officer for the school. Once they have so many absences, we begin a court process. At first it's informal, but then occasionally they have to come to court. And I say occasionally, we have probably 10 or 12 per year, and we make them come to court once a month. And whoever the director of pupil personnel is, right now it's Kathy Taylor, the most effective means we have is she and I and the child and their parent go into the back room and just have heart-to-hearts, because a lot of time the reason the child is missing school It's not because they hate school. They've got other things going on in their life. And getting them to open up and finally talk about, I'm having trouble with this, or there's bullying at school, or I've had people say, I just need to go to work because my family needs the money.
Yeah.
And just trying to help them get through those barriers that a lot of times they construct themselves because they just think they need to help somewhere else, or there's a reason they don't go to school that's not because they hate school, but they just think they should be doing something else.
Yeah. So there's a certain level of humanity that drives you to, like, there's a genuine care and all that good stuff.
And it's like I said, it's lessons learned over 22 years of being county attorney of when to put your thumb on someone
Mm-hmm.
or when to talk to the parent and say, hey, what do we need to do to make it better for this?
Yeah. What's the hardest lesson that you have learned over your time?
Like I said, when I came in, it was all black and white.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you break the law, it was learning through experience and maturing myself that you can't treat everything as a black and white situation because nothing in the world really is black and white.
Do you feel like you would do anything differently over the next term, or do you feel like you've got the office in a good spot and it's best to continue with the way you've got it?
It changes constantly. There's always a better way to do something other than the way you're doing it, and being open to listening to other people's opinions. I go to training twice a year and they say, hey, we've tried this. Most of it is dealing with juveniles, a different way to try to reach them, to help them.
So what goes in, what would you say, like, to the average voter, like, how should a county attorney be evaluated? Because when I just see it, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I just see it as another political office, you know, and around here, I think it's, do you like this person more? Or do you like that person more? But the older I get, it's more about, can this person do this job?
Yes.
And so, but I wouldn't even know where to begin when it comes to a county attorney. You know, how do you evaluate if they're doing a good job or not?
It used to be all about conviction rate, but the non-prosecution is just as important as a conviction rate, making the decisions based on the individual. Helping the fiscal court in their decision-making process is huge. I'm going to take some credit here that when they were talking about the property across from the post office, they wanted to know what can we do to help the county. And I said, have you ever been to the soccer games on Saturday morning where they play in the mud hole in between the middle school and the high school? I said, you can't park there. I said, it's the fastest growing aspect of the county.
Yeah.
And that's how it becoming an athletic facility started.
Yeah, because that was something when I moved back, because I moved back in January, and just seeing that they had the bleachers and all that stuff there, I had no idea that that's what it was.
Because to improve a county, you have to improve the government infrastructure before you can attract anyone to this county. I talked to a gentleman today from Michigan who's buying a house here. And I'm like, why are you moving here? And he's like, we were just driving around and fell in love with that location. Because they see that it has, for a town of our size, we've got a lot to offer. We've got coffee shops, every restaurant you need, barbecue that you can't get anywhere else.
Yes.
They saw that it's a great place to come and retire. Cost of living is low compared to everywhere else in the United States, but it still has the necessary things you need. It's got a great hospital. The school system is great. And like I said, now there's some other infrastructure things that are going up to help continue that.
Yeah. And this place has kind of been a bubble, with, it's been very conservative as far as forward progress. And I think in some ways it's been good. In some ways we've been held back, but I know Lucas and I talked quite a bit on the sale of alcohol. He seemed to feel like the number of drug or alcohol related incidents has gone down. Is that your interpretation
And
too?
not just DUIs. We don't have as many AIs or PIs because they don't have to binge drink. If they want to drink, they can just go get a drink. They don't have to go somewhere else, buy a case, and think they have to drink it all before they get home. Going back to the infrastructure, this county will never get a major manufacturer or anything until the state builds a better road system. We need to connect to I-40 in the worst way because that's where the growth is south of us.
Sure.
And there's been studies, there's been promises, but until we get that, we don't need it. But it's not as insulated anymore because everybody has a phone now. Everybody has the internet. You can do any job. You can work remotely in very high-tech jobs from Monroe County.
So is that something that your office can help with, or like how do you go about getting that infrastructure?
Like I said, the fiscal court, any contracts they enter into, any negotiations they are with people, I'm heavily involved with those things. I don't go out and recruit people. That's not part of the job. It's just to make sure that the county, once they are doing something, is doing it right. The budget that was just passed by the legislature has $6.6 million in it for the Monroe County Water District for infrastructure improvements. The Flippin area, Fountain Run area needs more volume of water. Because it's a growing part of the county. And it used to all be farmland, but now there are different facilities down there. There is a retirement community being built. Gonna have like 70 houses. All those, it's going to need more water, and the water district has worked hard with the legislature to get that put in this year's budget.
So what areas you mentioned? Flippin, and where else?
Fountain Run.
Fountain Run. What's the crime rate across the county? Like what's, I guess, the highest maybe per capita crime rate?
Obviously it's in the city because we have the city police officers patrol here more than the county has the resources to patrol the roads out in the county. The legislature changed the law, I believe, in 2012, where the city officers also have countywide jurisdiction. They used to be bound by the city limits, but now they have just as much authority out in the county as they do in the city. That's really helped the sheriff's department when they need backup. The city officers can kind of help them.
Yeah. And that, because either Lucas or Chris won. I know I keep talking about my past guess, but they talked about how basically the sheriff's department will have to buttress the police forces of like the other communities out there.
Fountain Run has a chief of police. Gamal does not have any officers now. They used to have an officer. So the sheriff's department has to be a presence in those communities. And then those are the only other cities that have had a police force.
So what does it like accountability? I don't like the word accountability, but how do you go? Do you evaluate yourself? Like I could have handled this better, or I could have, maybe this case I should have took this approach. Are you constantly measuring yourself, or do you feel like how do you evaluate yourself, I guess is the right way to put it?
Sleepless nights.
Yeah.
You do second guess yourself. You do think about how I could have handled this situation differently. Would there have been a better outcome if I had approached it from a different angle?
Do you have any examples that you can come up with?
It's on a case-by-case basis, but there have been domestic situations where the wife got to me first, and I just believed her version of events. And then after more investigation by officers, you're like, maybe I should have slowed down.
Yeah. It made me think of, it's not the same thing, but it was an attorney that basically, like, how could you which you're not a defense attorney, you're a prosecutor, but as an attorney, I think you probably will really understand this. It's like, how could you defend somebody that's accused of this, this, and this, even if the evidence is stacked against them? And he talked about how, like, that after the case played itself out, like, there was just one shred of evidence that actually overturned everything.
And it is making sure everybody's constitutional rights are protected.
Mm-hmm.
There are cases I have dismissed over the officer's objections because I was like, no, you did not allow him to do this, or you didn't do this properly.
Mm-hmm. And that, if you had taken that to, if say you hadn't done that, is that where you get things like mistrials and stuff like
You
that?
could get a mistrial, or you could get a false conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather err. And it's not for someone my age who goes out and does something stupid, because you should be old enough to know better.
Sure.
But a young person, because a lot of times if they get hammered in the court system, they've got a chip on their shoulder the rest of their life. It follows them around about which jobs they can get, where they can travel to. And that's when you have to evaluate it on a case-by-case basis and just say, is he a bad person, or she, or is this just a bad night?
Mm-hmm. How many cases do you think that you've seen somebody ruin their life over one bad decision?
It's usually a DUI with a wreck involved, where they've harmed someone, killed someone, or really messed themselves up physically.
Yeah. What's the hardest decision you've ever had to make in your role?
None of the decisions are that easy,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to realize the impact it will have, not only on the person,
Mm-hmm.
but if there's a victim in the crime, what impact it will have, your decisions will make on them. Because if they get shut out of the system, then if something else happens, they'll keep their mouth shut.
Yeah. I just thought of this going back to like the mistrial and things like that. As far as it goes for attorneys, like, I assume there's just a crap ton of ethics involved. Have you ever do you face ethical dilemmas?
Every week, because we live in a small community, and I know almost every person that comes in district court,
Mm-hmm.
some better than others. And I have to evaluate whether my friendship with them or my association with them, good or bad, will impact the way I do my job.
Yeah.
I've gotten a special prosecutor for cases
Mm-hmm.
where I thought I could do the job, but I erred on the side of caution, that this way nobody can question that I had a bone to pick with this person, or I'd been out to eat with this person a few years ago, so therefore they got a big break.
Yeah. Fair enough. Because I know, like, as a therapist and lawyer, two completely different things. But if I know somebody, they can't be my client.
Hmm.
So how does that? I mean, in a small town, that's very difficult anyway. Do you all have any similar ethics, or is it just like what you just said? Like, what constitutes a conflict of interest?
In a juror, you ask them, have you ever been to their house? Have you ever been out to eat with them? Would you take what they said as being more truthful than someone else in the case, just because of your prior relationship with that person? And that's pretty similar. Like, if I'm actively representing someone in some other type of case,
Mm-hmm.
I can't prosecute them. I have to get out of both cases, so that me knowing what they're being prosecuted for doesn't affect the way that I would represent them in a civil case.
Sure. Like, say there was a juror that slipped by,
Mhm.
okay, and then there was a conviction because of this trial.
Yeah.
Are cases ever overturned, like, after the fact?
Yes, and it's more in circuit court because they deal with the felonies.
Yeah.
Everything in district court is a misdemeanor. But the felony cases, absolutely, they call it juror misconduct, but sometimes they just failed to fully answer a question or truthfully answer a question about some bias they had on the case.
Okay. You mentioned district and circuit, and you said district is misdemeanor,
Yes.
and circuit is
Felonies.
felony. Is that the only difference between the two?
On the criminal side, almost all cases, there are a few direct submissions to the grand jury start in district court. If they're charged with a felony, we have a preliminary hearing, which we have to have a hearing to determine if there's enough evidence to go forward. That's a very low bar. It's the 51%, more likely than not, that crime was committed and this person committed it.
Okay.
Then when you go to the jury trial, you have the beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
If we district court cases, the misdemeanors, they're punishable by less than a year in jail. The statutes read 365 days. Felonies are a year or more in jail can be the penalty.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So let's if you're good with it, I would like to switch gears and talk. I want to learn more about Wes, the person.
Okay.
So, I know, of course, Shelby and I went to school together. Is it okay that I mentioned kids?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Shelby and I went to school, and I remember, and you know those cringe memories that you have, like you're laying in bed and you're like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? I remember there was one time I showed up at your house and Shelby was having a birthday party, completely uninvited, but I was bringing somebody, I think, to the party, and you had those pugils. You had do you remember that?
Yes.
And I was like, I'm going to murder this person. And I ended up losing that pugil match. But I still think that's one of those things that I was like, you not only did you show up uninvited, you got your butt whooped.
Yeah.
But
the Army changed that for
the Army, yeah. It changed some things, yeah, for sure, for the better.
Mm-hmm.
But so talk for viewers, just kind of talk about your family and their accomplishments, because I know Grant's is he a military academy?
No, he is now a Marine.
Okay, really?
He graduated from Officer Candidate School November 7th.
Sick.
He's in the basic school now, and he graduates June the 19th. He was just in this weekend, with his military commitments, you get to see him 2 or 3 times a year. But he was in this weekend, and he has decided he's going to pursue the infantry.
Yes, that's my boy.
I knew you would appreciate that.
Yeah.
He had previously worked in D.C. for the Department of Defense in some different jobs. And when he was in boot camp, it's not basic training with the Marines. It's boot camp. They were like, why are you here? And he said, they were asking me to make decisions that impacted people's lives, and I didn't understand the real world implications of it. He said, I needed some experience on the military side before I could confidently and competently make those decisions.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that helped me, because I went the officer route too, and I'm glad that I did. But I honestly, as an officer, I was a bit I don't know if rambunctious is the right word, but either way, I'm glad I had the experience I did, because I knew what the people under me, what their experience was, and that built a ton of trust. So I'm sure he'll have that same experience. But didn't mean to take away from your conversation, but so he's doing well, and he's going to go into the infantry. Is he? So where is that?
It's in Quantico, Virginia.
Okay.
And the infantry officer class stays in Quantico then for 8 weeks, and then he goes to Desert Palms for 2 weeks of desert training to complete that.
Yeah. It's fun stuff, man.
He absolutely loves it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You better.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna be doing it no matter what. So and Shelby followed in your footsteps, didn't she?
She did. I tried to convince her not to go to law school, but she thought she wanted to go to law school to work in politics, not as a politician, but work on the staff of a senator or in campaigns. And she took one criminal law class, and she said, I want to be a prosecutor.
Really?
And she was at Emory in Atlanta. I said, well, you could have gone to a state school to do that job. But she did that for about 3 years in Georgia, and then her and her husband now live in Nashville, and she does real estate, transactional law. But they have a 4-year-old son, Heath, and I'm pretty sure I'm his favorite person.
That's awesome. So. I'll ask you, like I asked Derek Prophet, what's it like being a granddad?
It's great because everybody tells you this, but you can spoil them and then send them home.
Yeah.
And there are no consequences for the decisions you make when you're with him, like letting him have a Coke or going to get ice cream at 9:30 at night because he's having trouble going to sleep. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Mhm.
Do you want to, and you can uh, talk about Laura Lee if you want to. You talk about whatever you want when it comes to your family.
My wife is Laura Lee. We've been married 33 years. She runs a fitness studio, and her hobby is triathlons.
Golly, man.
She's done a half Ironman, and then she does about one triathlon a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell everyone that someone has to be the before pictures for the
Yeah,
studio.
man.
So
That walk from the office to the courthouse will get you.
yeah, it'll get you down.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Mm.
So how long have you been practicing law?
I got my bar license October 15th, 1998. So
Okay.
it'll be 28 years this year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Does it feel like it's been that long?
It feels like it's been 50 years sometimes, and then there are times I have no idea how I've been out of law school 10 years.
Yeah.
Mm.
So did you know that you wanted to go into like politics, or not politics, but I mean it is by default politics.
Mm.
Did you want to be county attorney? Did you want to hold some kind of position, or did it just kind of happen?
I watched a movie when I was in middle school, high school, called From the Hip by Judd Nelson, and it was two young hotshot attorneys fighting it out in the courtroom and the theatrics, and
Yeah.
that's what I thought I was going to do.
So what's it look like for you outside of the office?
I've got a beef cattle operation.
I didn't know that.
I've got 100 mama cows, give or take. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. And that's pretty much what I do outside of the office anymore, unless I'm going to Nashville to pick up my grandson.
Yeah.
When I get home from work, I get on the side by side, I drive through them,
Mm-hmm.
check on everything. It's not an easy way, but it is how I decompress.
Sure. Sure. No, I didn't know that about you.
And I enjoy the physical part of it, the fixing the fences, the moving the hay,
Yeah.
the physical side, because I sit at a desk all day.
Yeah. Yeah, there's psychological research that talks about the importance of having like a well-rounded it's difficult to live fully manual labor, and it's difficult to live, what I don't know if you call it white collar for you, but that type, but having that balance is super important.
And I play golf through the summer. There's a men's league, play 9 holes on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
You get to get out, cut up with the guys, escape for a little while.
Yeah. Did you grow up around here?
I actually grew up in Glasgow.
Okay. My
family farm has been in my family in Vernon since 1865.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and that's where Graham came. That's when he comes home, that's where he stays, is in the farm in Vernon.
Right.
My dad graduated from Tompkinsville High School. He went on to the University of Kentucky. I graduated from University of Kentucky, and my son got his degree from UK. So we've got 3 generations that graduated from UK.
Who was your dad?
Wallace Stevens.
Wallace Stevens. I don't think I ever met him. But when did you move to Tompkinsville?
2001.
Yeah.
I'd practiced here since 1999. And I was talking to somebody this weekend. We were going to Vernon, and I said, we'd spend 30 to 35 weekends a year. We went to the farm in Vernon. My grandfather farmed. My dad would always go help him, and I would tag along, because then, as long as you could touch the pedals of the truck and the keys were in it, you could drive anywhere you wanted.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. I had no idea you had that. What did you call it? Beef cattle, just beef cattle farm.
Beef cattle farm. Yeah.
And do you sell to like local?
I do market most of them through CPC and Fountain Run.
Okay.
Get them up to 750 pounds.
So if you could like go back, I know you've been doing this for a hot minute, what would be like your top advice that you would give yourself If
When I first started out, to take a breath, to appreciate the opportunity, to not be so quick to judge people just because they're in the situation they're in. Like I said, you have to learn to. They may have just made a bad decision. They may just be having a bad day, is why they come in with a bad attitude.
yeah,
Nobody comes to my office because they're having a good day. A lot of times it's the worst thing that's ever happened to them.
hmm
And being able to appreciate the various stages of life and just what's brought them into my office has really, really helped. And connecting with the individual as instead of just what is written on the page.
hmm obviously that's doing something differently, but would you approach the office differently going back, or do you feel like you had to learn some lessons along the way?
I've learned lessons along the way. I'm hoping that that is the only way that you can do it.
hmm
I never had a lack of confidence when I came into office,
hmm
but it was misplaced as to how to treat people,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. I would see, I don't know how you or Nick do it. Uh, my brother, but I don't know how y'all do it. Like I just feel like the pressure would be too immense. Like can you walk me through your first trial to the degree that you can, and like what was that like as far as like the level? Did you have like anxiety? Were you as prepared as you could be, and you were super confident?
I still have anxiety today when I go into a jury trial.
Yeah.
And if it's just a shoplifting case at Walmart was the last one I had. We had video evidence,
hmm
but you still obsess over the proper way to introduce it. Make sure you don't leave anything out. How is this going to affect other people if you lose this case?
hmm yeah. What's it like to try and build a closing argument?
Fortunately, I think pretty well on my feet.
hmm
I very rarely craft or draft a closing argument. Most of the jury trials in district court are a couple of hours. So it's not that I've got to take notes about what happened 2 days ago or the day before. It's just recreating what I think are the most important points for
hmm
my side and emphasizing those to the jury.
Sure. Is it hard do you ever get emotionally invested in your court cases, or are you able to stay detached?
Through that process, I try to stay detached because if you let your emotions take over, you make bad decisions in the courtroom.
hmm
Outside of the courtroom, you're 100% emotionally invested.
Yeah.
Um, People come to you for weeks in advance saying, "Hey, what's going on in this case? What do we need to do? What do you need from me? How can we make sure that this side is heard?"
Yeah. And what about cases? Are there cases where the it's just cut and dry from the get go, but the defense attorney has to be a defense attorney, and you're the prosecuting attorney, but it's pretty much cut and dry. Like, are there times where everybody's on the same page?
95% of our cases work out through a plea deal
Okay.
where we don't have to have a jury trial, where I give a little, the defense say, "All right, we can if we admit to speeding, can you drop the reckless driving?"
But yeah, I've always heard that like police will like charge you with everything that they can, uh, and part of that is so that whenever you go to court, it's more likely that you'll get like a plea deal.
Yeah. We deal with more traffic citations in district court than charging with possession of marijuana and also possession of drug paraphernalia. Or if they're charged with methamphetamine, they'll also get them for having a pipe just for extra charges. But a traffic citation, you can tell what type of mood the person was in when the officer approached the vehicle just
Mhm.
by how many charges they get.
Really?
Because they'll get failure to produce insurance card, failure to maintain insurance, no registration receipt, no registration sticker. And they're just doing that to let the prosecutor know this guy doesn't deserve as big a break as somebody. Most of the speeding tickets, they'll catch them at 82 and they'll amend it down to 70 on the side of the road. So they're eligible to enter the traffic safety program. So
Sure.
if you treat the officer with respect, they're always going to treat you with respect.
Yeah. And I know I said we would kind of shy away from this a little bit, but I am curious, like what what my pop was like, because I never got to know that courtroom side of him. I knew he was like a county attorney and all that stuff, but I didn't, witness him or anything. I wasn't aware enough. Is there anything like that you learned from him, or that you observed from him that you took away from that observation?
I did. That's where I learned to treat more of the individual, to have a conversation with them. When I came in, I was gung ho. Everything was adversarial. If the officers charge you with this, that meant you did this. You're probably a bad person and deserve to pay a price for that. But he treated everybody with respect.
Sure.
He had compassion, more compassion than I'll ever have, just because he was that type of individual. And it taught me that that is the best way to change people's lives, is to treat them with respect and compassion, rather than just being the hammer that hits them over the head.
Yeah. Do you feel like politics in Monroe County has changed?
It is. It's not as adversarial as it used to be. There aren't as many political factions, where when the first time I ran against your grandfather, I knew these people would be for me because they had always been against your grandfather's family.
Yeah.
And now I don't. There's very, very little of that.
Yeah. What made any observations of how candidates, are interacting with one another? Is that different?
It is. There's not as much hostility, and the county judge executives, I've seen all of them speak at various events, and they never say anything bad about the other person. It's just about what they're going to do, what their vision is, not about, well, if you don't vote for this guy because he's this. It's more about just talk about the issues and then let the voters make their decision based on who's best qualified for that job.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious of what your opinion is like on these, like, because I feel like this is a good opportunity, right? And obviously you did too, because you come out here. But do you think this is an opportunity, like a good way to get that message out?
I think this is the best way to reach people, because anybody can put out a 30-second commercial like you see in the national politics, and that's always just hammering somebody else instead of, who is this person? Why do they want this job? This gives people to make an informed decision on who to vote for, instead of just a pure popularity contest.
Yeah, because I just believe, like, you can't really fake yourself for, I don't know, an hour at a time over, in a long form conversation. The real you is going to come out,
If you try to fake it, you're going to trip up before that hour's over and reveal something that you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Just fun to wrap it up. What's something interesting about yourself that you think people would like to know about you or find interesting about you?
Most people don't know that I've been arrested twice.
Oh my goodness.
I was 16 the first time for speeding and reckless driving, and it was egregious enough that the officer decided I need to be placed in custody. That was scary, because my father came to pick me up, best mood, talking to the jailers, telling jokes, and then we got to the car. Yeah. And he turned, which I deserved. And the other time I was 19 and charged with assault, and actually had a jury trial. But the judge threw it out before the jury got it. But because of that experience, the judge threw it out because the officer had just not done a good job investigating, and had just taken one side of the story instead of finding out what had really happened.
Yeah.
I knew then I was going to be an attorney.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I didn't know that, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Wes the Mess.
Yeah. People have called me other things too.
Yeah. No, I'm just messing with you, man. But I appreciate you coming out. I think this has been a very fruitful conversation to have, and I hope at the very least people enjoy it. But I know that they're going to leave watching it able to make an informed decision.
And I appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, I think it's great for a candidate or anyone to be able to get their message across in an hour-long conversation, so that anything you want to cover, you get that opportunity.
Absolutely. One day I'd like to have you back on here just to shoot the bull.
I'd be happy to do that. And I will bring some notes about some of the cases. thinking
Yeah,
about-
absolutely.
Okay.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Let's get you out of here.
Thank you, Ben.